We spend most of our lives living as a persona, the version of ourselves that's edited, filtered, and designed to make everyone else feel comfortable. But eventually that noise stops. The support disappears, and in that silence you finally meet the person you've been avoiding. You meet the real you. Hi, my name's Catherine, and in today's video we're going to look at how do we actually know who we are. Maybe you feel lost. Maybe you've spent your whole life running after other people. You don't even know who you are anymore. Well, look, I've got your back, and so has this wonderful community here. So please do hit that subscribe button and join us, because we want to welcome you into this safe space where we support one another and we can talk about just making life a little bit easier and happier. And who wouldn't like that, eh? So yeah, what can happen? Well, life can get so busy, can't it? First of all, we can have so many responsibilities. We might have parents, children, jobs, pets, you name it, so much going on, and we're just lurching from one task to the next, to the next, to the next, and eventually we flop down at night exhausted. You may not even have time to pursue any interests or passions of your own, because all you are doing is looking after everybody else. Well, I can relate to that. I can relate to that feeling like I was running on a hamster wheel. But what happened to me, I would like to share with you, just as a small example of how I began to learn and understand who I really was. And I'm hoping that you can find the real you too. Just quickly, a quick summary. My mother went into a nursing home after she had lived with me for 3 years. I live here with my daughter, my dog and my cat. And the decade before that had been extremely busy with work and other responsibilities. And when my mum went into that nursing home, it was the first time in my life for a very long time I actually stopped. And rather than it feeling like a relief, as I felt that it should have been, almost everything piled on top of me. That grief that from my father that I hadn't had time to process, thinking about the relationship that I'd had with my daughter's father and how that had gone wrong. All these things started coming into my head, and actually I started to feel very lost, and I was very exhausted. Things were happening in the world which were just unimaginable, and then my wonderful brother, my older brother, who I loved dearly, became very ill. And it's funny, I look back now, it's only in the last year, but I've come to understand that that painful period in my life where I was grieving and hurting for the ones that I loved. That pain was sort of necessary, because that pain has brought me to a deeper understanding of who I actually am. Okay, that might sound a bit confusing, but bear with me. Yeah? So Carl Jung talks about this, and I am a bit of a fan of his. Understanding who we are. Well, I'm sure you've heard of the term awakening, yeah? Or spiritual awakening. But awakening to oneself, yeah? An understanding of who you are, basically, yeah? People do use the term wake up a lot, which I'm not really a fan of, because actually waking up, is often used by lots of different groups, and they use it as a term to sort of say, come on, wake up to my way of thinking. But actually awakening, it has nothing to do with outside influences. In fact, it's the complete opposite. It's not jumping from one belief to another. The true awakening is when you can look within, because all you need to know, everything you need to discover, is actually inside of you, not outside. Now, because, I've come across these terms before, and look within and everything, and in the past I'll be like, what are they talking about? What do you mean look within? How on earth am I meant to look within? Okay, so I want to just try and explain this to you, yeah? Okay. So we spend a lot of our lives, and especially if we're busy and stressed, yeah, we spend a lot of our lives functioning from the unconscious part of our brain, yeah, our mind, we're functioning from our unconscious. So we're perhaps getting very angry and emotional and reactive and jealous and frustrated and down on ourselves, yeah. Why me, it shouldn't have been like this, it should have been like that, blaming others, all that sort of thing, yeah. That is coming from our unconscious or subconscious, yeah. Subconscious is not so deep, it's like we're aware of it, but it's not deeply hidden. So you've probably heard people say, never make a choice out when you're stressed, yeah? Or when you go to an interview, don't look like you really need it, because that's going to, come across. Awakening is where you learn to discover about yourself. I'm not really talking about spiritual awakening as such, although awakening is a deeply spiritual thing, because I would term spiritual awakening, well, I don't know. It's something I went through, and the process was a little bit different for me, but this is an awakening. So you're learning about yourself and who you are, okay? So for example, I'm going to give me as an example, not because I just want to sit here talking about me, but just to sort of help you understand what I mean when I say this. So I was feeling very low, okay, and I was feeling very in despair, thinking, you know, I'm 51 years old, I already had a career, I had to start over again because of something I had to give jobs up for other things in my life. I was feeling tired and exhausted of that starting over again and not feeling particularly happy in the direction that I was feeling I was going to have to take. Yeah, I felt like I had no choice in the matter. Concerns about paying bills, and plus dealing with those emotions such as grief and loss. So I was in a place of despair, right? And I suddenly it was almost like I saw the light, yeah? And that managed to bring me out of myself, where I decided that actually I had enough of all this. And I was going to try and do something with my life that gave me purpose and meaning. Because I was always telling everyone else to follow their heart. So maybe I needed to think about that for me. And I embarked on some things that didn't work out, yeah, but that's okay. I was moving forward. But just recently, I've become to learn where I've been able to sort of look in the mirror. Yeah, Carl Jung calls it your shadow side. It's a reflection of yourself that you're not particularly proud of, the bits of you that you want to hide. Maybe that's, for me, it's been my people pleasing. Incorporated in that is self-sabotage, yeah? My avoidance, those sorts of things, my procrastination, yeah? For other people, it might be their reactivity or their defensiveness or their need to flee, yeah? It will be different in all of us. And actually, because I am alone, pretty much, I mean, I have my daughter and my pets, but apart from that, I'm pretty alone. With no outside influences, I was facing my shadow side and realizing who I really was. But I wasn't just facing my shadow side, I was also facing like the positive sides of who I am. Yeah, it's not all like, you know, I'm terrible and this and that. And but I've come to realize that actually facing your shadow side is incredibly important. Now this morning I was lying in the bath and I was bathing my sore joints because I do get a little bit of arthritis. I can't speak again. Arthritis. And I get hives first before I get the arthritis. And yesterday it had rained and I was covered in hives around my joints. And I was lying in the bath, bathing them. Now normally, because over the last few years, I tend to pick up every illness, every virus, every bug. I've been suffering from migraine after migraine. And the commentary, the thought process in my head used to be, why is this always happening to me? Oh my gosh, it's one thing after another. I'm always getting ill. But this morning, it was something different. I lay in the bath, soaking my, I sound like a very old woman, don't I? Soaking my joints. And I thought, instead of thinking, why is this happening? instead of thinking, why is this happening to me, in a sort of, way, I thought, well, why is this happening to me? Maybe I am being put through a process of having to learn to accept that my body doesn't sometimes work the way that I want it to work. And when my body is working and it's healthy, I need to really, truly appreciate that. Right, just bear with me. Please don't go away, because I need a drink. Sorry, I don't like hearing people drink or eat. I've got like a noise sensitivity thing, so I get embarrassed having a drink. Okay, so I don't want to lose you because I'm rambling, but it actually goes a lot deeper than that. In yesterday's video, I was talking about putting your head in the sand and procrastinating, and how this is a really big problem if you have this problem. And I was encouraging you guys to, to tackle the first couple of little things on your list. And I did that myself, okay, because procrastination is a big problem of mine. And then I was reflecting on it this morning, and I thought, well, how about the thought that actually in this process of discovering, finally at the age of 51, discovering who I really am, maybe I'm having to tackle all these difficult sections of my life, but learn to be accepting and not afraid. And I realised that actually, when we can discover who we really are, the good bits and the not so good bits, and we can work on the good bits, but no longer feel afraid, of the fear of like not wanting to check your bank balance. It's like you can drive through that fear. You can do it. You realize that actually you have the strength within you to do that. Okay, no longer feeling like being accepting of who you are in a physical way. Okay, I may not be the most beautiful, the prettiest in the world, but I am me. And actually, I've come to a point of acceptance of that. I accept who I am, and the fact that I have quirky bits, and that's okay. I actually love quirky bits, but on other people. Accepting that maybe you are quick to anger and you have a little bit of a temper, and okay, it might annoy other people, but as long as you're not being sort of aggressive with it, it's okay. Learning to accept yourself for who you truly are, and standing firm as that person, not being apologetic for you. Now there's an absolute beautiful thing when you become awakened, okay? The awakening process of moving from your deep unconscious to your conscious is an incredible thing. It's like the light from it's like the light is shining on all these parts of you that you just were not noticeable, but not just to you, to other people as well. Suddenly, when you're conscious of how you're behaving or how you're acting, or you're making conscious choices, I am actually going to make a conscious choice not to be upset by the man who's beeping at me in his van, right? It's his problem, not mine. He's not going to bother me, disturb my peace. I'm making a conscious choice, okay? I am making a conscious choice to get up, and I'm going to go through my list of things that I've been putting off. I'm making that conscious choice. And you're making choices consciously, you're thinking consciously. Then you recognize in other people, and you are able to accept them when they are really operating from their unconscious place, okay? It's not like a feeling of superiority, not at all. In fact, it couldn't be further from the truth. Yeah, you don't feel superior to others. It's an acceptance of others. Yes, you still have humility. Yeah, very important. Okay, so but you can have compassion and understanding that actually that person who has been cross at you, or has shouted, or has behaved in a way that you're perhaps not particularly pleased about, they're doing so because of their own limitations, because they are just working purely from their subconscious, unconscious place. So you don't expect the apology because you know it's not going to come, but you're okay with that. Yeah, a large part of this is acceptance. It's learning to accept who you truly are, and accepting who others are, and accepting other people's limitations. Yeah, it's like people might say, oh, well, it's been so difficult for me. How am I meant to do this and this in my life with my upbringing? Yeah, and place the blame, very strongly on their parents. Yeah, but actually, that's not right. Yeah, it's when you're working from your conscious brain, you go, you know what? My parents may have done this or that, and yeah, I can see that wasn't really ideal, but they were doing the best they could with what they had available to them, and quite likely were just working from an unconscious place. They didn't know any better, okay? And that's can be quite a big thing, especially if it's really affected you. But it's also very freeing. Yeah, it's very freeing, and learning that we are actually wholly responsible for ourselves, and our happiness and everything we want does not come from anybody else. It doesn't come from new gadgets or the best house or the latest car. Everything we need to feel whole purely comes from within. Okay, this has been a bit of a ramble today, and maybe a tad self-indulgent, because I just really like talking about this and I just wanted to talk about it. So yeah, sorry about that. Oh, I'm apologizing for myself again. what am I doing? I am still learning. But yeah, maybe, hopefully you liked the video. And if you did, please do comment, love your comments, like, and do subscribe to be part of this wonderful community. We've got new people coming in almost every day, and it's wonderful, and I would love you to be a part of that. Okay, wishing you lots of love and light, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.